Yo, welcome to the long and short. This is your boy Maestro. Thanks for tuning in. Every day we aim to bring you some price action trading techniques and education to help you become a better trader in this crypto market. We will be bringing you some crypto news, opportunities, outlook on some major coins based on our unique TA perspective. So let's dive right in. If you like this content, go ahead and click the like and subscribe button. Share this with some folks that you think may need this type of information. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So, as we sort of predicted, Bitcoin did come right back down to this order block area that it previously did spike to and is now sort of finding an area of or a range of accumulation. Okay, we don't like to think of this as support. The reason why is because if we were to draw a support line here, of course, support does get invalidated, right? And we can sort of treat this like support, but for the most part, I think you're finding more accumulation in this zone. Okay, now there is news and different things that are saying the selling pressure is easing up. I'm not necessarily so sure of that because this has been moving in a downwards trajectory since it fell into this block. Now, there is areas of liquidity here that I think are very important for price to try to grab before any real push up. So I'm expecting it to sort of sit sideways here as we anticipated in the previous video, and then dip a bit more into this liquidity area. And as I said before, 39.5 is really sort of the last stop where price may go in regards to Bitcoin. If it does dive lower than 39.5, then you can consider that there may be a lot more bearish activity down the line here. Because there are areas lower of imbalance of liquidity as well as order blocks that have sort of initiated this run starting back in July. Okay, so these are areas that are sort of the rock bottom for price if it were to come back here. Depending on how things go for the rest of this month into February and March, that will determine the direction in price. Okay, so we shouldn't expect some sort of V-shaped recovery. We shouldn't expect price to just start to launch through these levels until maybe after March, sometime April, May, June is when I would expect this price to have more bullish activity. For right now, I'm thinking bearish to the side, consolidating markets, making things very boring for the month of January. There's nothing worse than having traders anticipate where things may go and then they don't get there, right? So how many people said 100K Bitcoin this year? Never got there, right? And if they can stall us out and make us a little bit bored with price action, as you can see here, it's been a very sideways day. It is the weekend, so we're not expecting things to trade very much for the most part, right? I mean, if the market moves sideways and consolidates between, this area here of, what's my number? Looks like around 42.7 to 41, a little bit lower than that, maybe 41,000. As long as price is swinging between that, there's not very much volatility. There's not very much opportunity for traders. So traders will go elsewhere to look for opportunity. But that's usually right before the price launches and starts to take a lot more volatility in. Okay. So that's what we're looking at for Bitcoin, sort of a sideways consolidating market. Looking at the futures here, it looks like everything is sort of still floating towards the zero line, right? A lot of the retail speculators are starting to come off of those long positions, right? They're starting to take that leverage off, and it looks like the large speculators are starting to think short again. Now, look at what happened last time they thought short, okay? They were putting in short speculative plays, but they rallied the market, okay, in order for them to have a better position. Now, your open interest is also dropping. This open interest, once it starts to hit levels of, I would say, under 10K, right, to 8K, this is where you're going to start to see more of those explosive moves. When the open interest is very high, the market doesn't tend to respond well to that. This is when traders get taken advantage of. When the open interest sort of floats lower, right, and there's some catalyst that can push price higher, that's when you see your real explosions. So these are the two correlations that we're going to look at, right? Everything from where all of the speculators are sitting in the commercials, as well as open interest. We're going to put these two things together to try to time tops and bottoms, okay? So stick with us if you're interested in finding out more about that. All right, looking at the cryptocurrency heat map, everything is pretty red, but seems to be sort of a mixed day. They do have some winners. Solana, Hex token looks like it's doing some damage in the market there, up 5%. All right, but for the most part, when you're swinging sideways like this, you're going to have a mixed bag of some winners, some losers. Some will be worse than others. Bitcoin dominance is creeping up, though, to 41.5%. So this is something that we want to pay attention to. All right. Fear and greed index is at 10. Extreme fear. I mean, this is probably as red as it's been in a very long time. I haven't seen it this low, but that's not really affecting the price. If the fear and greed index is at 10, right, typically it says to us that there's a good time to buy. And this is right now when you need to test your character. If you were talking about buying the dip up here, okay, is this a dip for you? Is this good enough of a dip for you to buy? Ask yourself that question. I think it is. And the reason why I say that is because when I look at price action, I want to look at where the extensions in price action happen. This type of price action, sort of this up but to the side movement, it doesn't impress me, but this does, right? This big extension does. And so I want to know where the area of price is that this big extension started from. Where did it launch? Because if price comes back to this, what this really tells me is that someone completed their mission. The larger institutions completed their mission. They bought in a place where they were able to sell and then buy again. Now, if they accumulate here for a week, 2 weeks, that just builds the case of this being a very important level. Even if it were to spike up, come back down, spike up, because price just won't gonna sit sideways, right? It's going to angle one way or the other. I'm thinking it's going to angle down, right? Because that's just where the pressure has been. But eventually, if it doesn't break too low below 39.5, it's going to rally, okay? But you have to give it time to play out. We're on a daily chart. There's going to be a lot of whipsaw activity. There's going to be a lot of different liquidations just for people taking long and short positions and price going the other way on them. I'm expecting a range to continue to play out here, okay? So that's what we're looking for Bitcoin. Top 10 hasn't really changed very much. Okay, you still have your normal dogs sitting in their normal place. Bitcoin number 1, Ethereum number 2, Tether number 3, Binance Coin number 4, Solana sitting nicely at number 5, USD Coin at number 6, Cardano still holding strong even though it took a crash at number 7, XRP at number 8, Polkadot number 9, Terra Luna at 10. Dogecoin is separating a bit from Shiba Inu, which is very interesting, surpassing Avalanche in market cap. Okay. Top 10 is always interesting to look at. I'm really watching Chainlink, right? This is one that I'm really taking a deeper look at. Cosmos as well. So Algorand as well, right? These are projects that I think will definitely continue to climb the ladder and eventually will end up in the top 10 and have their day theirs. VeChain's another one. So whenever you can, go ahead and scroll to the top 10, see if anything's changing, see if coins are making leaps and bounds towards, at least the top 30, top 40 coins. All right, from lower than that. Some interesting news here. Market wrap, crypto traders reduce leverage, selling pressure subsides. I tend to take that news with a grain of salt. I think that there is still selling pressure in the market. People are scared to buy right now because of that selling pressure. And I think eventually that tide is going to change. All people really need to see is a push up to get them back in. And the market knows how to do that to entice traders to bring them lower. So beware if you do start to see pumps out of nowhere and there's no real reason for it to happen, then it may just be a fake out to sort of get people trapped in. It'll be a bull trap for the most part. I think you will have downwards pressure for the most part for the first quarter of this year. All right, just historically speaking, that's the way it's been for crypto. Okay, not very much more news going on. Again, this is the first sort of 2 weeks of the year where things are, people are sort of coming back to life after the new year, Christmas holiday, things of that nature. So you can expect the markets to sort of be a bit boring at this point. When it comes to TA, again, we showed you our levels on Bitcoin. Let's jump into a couple of other coins to see if we can get some perspective. All right, let's take a look at ETH. And again, ETH, sort of the same thing, but their order block's a bit lower. Now, here's the thing about ETH and Bitcoin, right? We do know that they flow in tandem a bit. But if ETH, okay, this is what I'm looking for in regards to the correlation. If ETH does not come down to hit this weekly order block, right? The way that I've identified it here is a weekly order block. sort of to give it more of a higher time frame validity, right? So if ETH doesn't push down to this level before it bounces, this shows me that ETH is continuing to be a much more strong asset than Bitcoin is, right? Because Bitcoin sort of already came back to its base level of where it launched from, right? We're looking at the same thing for ETH here too, right? So you see, ETH has an area that it launched from. ETH still had that sideways action in price. That wasn't necessarily impressive, right? But this is a lot more impressive. The Bitcoin pump looked a little bit more parabolic, but that may just be because of how I'm laying out the chart. But ultimately, it's the same thing here. Okay, this push up originated somewhere, but ETH hasn't come really back down to that level yet. All right, it did clear the imbalance, and I think the next thing for ETH to do is revisit these areas where the quarterly low sits. But if it bounces from here, right, this continues to prove that ETH is a stronger asset than Bitcoin. It's not reaching the base levels that Bitcoin is currently reaching. If you guys can see that, right? You see how these things sort of align the same way. There's areas of liquidity. There's a swing low here, right? Swing low to swing high. So the same things are showing on the ETH chart, okay? Here's your swing, right? There's your order block. There's your liquidity. So if it happens in Bitcoin, chances are it may happen in ETH, but not as drastic. And you can play this out in regards to correlations between these tokens here. Taking a look across the board here, we are seeing that it's a pretty bloody day in my portfolio. You know, for the coins that I'm tracking, there are a few that are winning. Internet Computer Protocol is probably the top gainer that I was even considering in regards to crypto, but we're going to improve this list. We're going to continue to add more coins onto this list as we do more research. But so far, been a pretty bloody day in regards to my portfolio. All right, and these things fluctuate up and down. This is the hold portfolio. Again, I have Doge, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Engine Token, some Cardano, some Algorand, some Graph, StoreJ, Filecoin, CRV, and some Chainlink. This is sort of the HODL portfolio that I have right now. We will be adding to this portfolio over time. A few things that I'm looking at, of course, Mana, Sandbox. I feel like I got into the metaverse a bit late, and I'm actually waiting for this to come down a bit more before I dive in. Also, Harmony One is one that I'm taking a look at. Matic, Shiba Inu, XRP is something that I do want to dive into. Polkadot, Solana, Starlink is another metaverse coin that is very low, but they have a pretty substantial market cap, but they are a coin that could see some growth potential as metaverses start to become a bit more user friendly, to say the least. All right, so that's a look at all of the different things that are going on the charts, the news. We took a look at futures. What we're going to start to do is bring a bit more educational content on how we pick these levels out. What is an order block? What is an area of liquidity? What is an imbalance? What are swing lows, swing highs? Why we don't use trend lines? Why you don't see indicators here, guys? I mean, to be honest, like I can pull up indicators if I want to, but for the most part, I don't typically use them, right? The thing about indicators is that they lag no matter which indicator you use, right? Now, Market Cipher is a great indicator. I don't want to bash anything when it comes to Market Cipher. I like Crypto Face. I like the way he trades. I like the fact that he's transparent. Like he's one guy that'll go online and trade live, right? And whether he wins or loses, he knows how to deal with it. If you learn anything from Crypto Face, you should learn mentality of how to be a trader, because he has a great mentality when it comes down to it. And I bought Market Cipher. I used Market Cipher, and I have mixed opinions about it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let me tell you when Market Cipher works. Market Cipher works really well when you're around higher time frame levels of confluence, meaning if I have sort of a support level on a daily chart that price is creeping to and I see the green dot, right? That's a major buy signal for me. But if these green dots are just kind of popping up out of nowhere as price is falling and there's no real support areas for me to refer to on higher time frame charts, then these green dots probably won't play out, as you can see, right? There's no real area for the price to bounce, right? So when you're using things like indicators, it's easy for you to kind of get caught in what the indicator does itself. But unless you really have something in price has to also tell you, besides just the indicator, what you're seeing, right? This right here tells me that we're starting to find a bottom. But if we were to break out lower, there are areas for price that it may want to go get, right? Meaning, take this liquidity, break this swing low, take this liquidity, take out this imbalance, which will rebalance the market all the way back down to what these levels are, 36 to 34. If that occurs, it's not the worst thing in the world. In fact, it's probably the most bullish thing to happen if price were to fall this low, because that means that it snatched all of this liquidity, which gives it the jet fuel it needs to rebalance the market and then take off, right? So if we can tell this story over time, you know, with price, these will be the things that we try to put into the zeitgeist of traders, so that they understand that you can't just look at price levels and draw a trend line and think that price should honor that trend line or will honor that trend line, because it won't. It'll break the trend line. It'll break the support and resistance. But what is it breaking it for, right? Those are the things that I think traders need to get deeper concepts on. Why is it happening? Not where is it happening and where are things going to happen next? Why are things happening? You have to change the question, right, in order to become a lot more proficient in what's happening with price. So how would we play this? Well, you could do a bit of scalping, but any trade right now is very risky, very tricky, okay? But we drew this order block level out. You guys see where it originated from, right? This was beginning of September before the launch, okay? So as you can see, price sort of bounced on top of it and dipped into it. And this is really a pattern of accumulation, guys. If I look at this here, okay, I can see that there's buying activity, big green candles, okay? And there's some selling activity here. People are closing out orders. People are opening orders. And this very sideways action is the involatility that we're talking about, right? If we were to pull up volume, you'll see there's not a lot going on. But when there's big orders coming in, they got big orders pushing it in, big orders pushing it out. So we can see here, once price starts to cross over on top of this order block, right? This is where the volume starts to get a little bit aggressive, pushing in, right? These are them closing the orders, rebuying a bit, right? But they're going to keep it here. They're going to range it out here. But you can see certain spikes in volume within here, but they don't push it out. This is an accumulation zone, folks. All right. Price is going to dip out of here, come back into it so that it's not seen so much as a range, and it'll create its own range around this order block. But this is what I see in price. We're going to move sideways. It's going to be like this for a minute. There are some trading opportunities, but for the most part, we are sitting out right now, sort of waiting for the market to choose a direction. Whether it goes up or goes down, again, folks, if we are traders, we can figure out one way or the other to play the market. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to be looking for over the next couple of days. I want to see price. If it does break lower, I want to see it get supported by 39.5. If it does break 39.5, we may come down to around 38 to snatch areas of liquidity before a push up. If you do get lower than 38, it is to rebalance the market, which is not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it's going to depress price down to around 35, which will make everyone in their families bearish, right? So if you do get to this area, expect the fear and greed index to be at record-breaking levels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is sort of the perfect catalyst right before they're able to launch price based on what could happen in February and March. Okay, guys, so what we're looking for from a bearish perspective, the lowest we can go is around 35, 36, okay, 34. If price does go there, then we will certainly be considered in a bear market, but this could be the ultimate catalyst from where price could launch from, because essentially the market will rebalance itself at that point. All right, so it has everything it needs to move higher. Right now, I don't think that it fully has made its move completed yet. Okay, I think that there still is some room to go. Now, if we were to launch higher, okay, I don't think it's going to be to go to break all-time highs. I think it's going to be to put us consistently back within this range of 52 back to 40. Okay. Now, to swing within a $10,000 range, great swing trade opportunities here. Okay. But we want to see the market sort of exhaust this down move in order for us to understand where the range is first. Once we understand where the range is, then we can take trade opportunities based on the range. Just like we were able to go long and short based on this range here in areas of liquidity. right? You were able to take longs at the bottom of this and shorts at the top because the range was around 5 to 6K of where price was swinging between. If price is swinging between a small range like this, there really are no trades to take until price determines a direction and finds a new range. Right now, we broke below this range. So we can expect the top of it to be somewhere around 46. And if it breaks above that, then we see that we have a larger range in play. Okay. Great swing trade opportunities and day trade opportunities if we're able to establish this range again. Okay. So that's what we're going to be looking for going into next week. Today is Saturday, so don't expect a ton of price action. And that's what we see here, guys, in these markets. Hopefully this has been some sort of value to you, and hopefully this does bring you insight into the markets. Once again, this is the long and short. This is your boy Maestro. Please give us some positive feedback, negative feedback. Let us know how you feel. If you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe, like, and share this information with people that you think may find it valuable as well. Thanks for tuning in. It's your boy Maestro. This is the long and short. Take care.